what is wrong with the religious? I know I ask that a lot, but clearly something has to be, because they can't even answer their own questions coherently. They do not know what words mean, and this is hardly a surprise, so let's go back and look at an example once again, because this is really starting to get tiresome. Let's go take a look at another Andy Bannister video without Andy Bannister in it. Does he even do videos anymore? I'm really starting to wonder. This time, Steve Osmond is back, and he's as dumb as ever, as if that's any surprise, but I'll let you see that for yourself. This is not how you convince anyone but the already brain dead that your points have any merit. So let's dive right into it and laugh the whole way through, because this is really, really dumb. So hold on to your brain cells, and off we go.
How do we know what's true?
Evidence. That's how we know. We go and we look for evidence, and then we follow that evidence wherever it leads without trying to lead it in any way. How you feel about things is completely irrelevant. What you want to be true doesn't matter. It's what you can demonstrate entirely outside of your own head that means anything, and that is absolutely not how the religious operate. Granted, they are hardly alone. Lots of people have a hard time just going with the data and keeping their emotional interpretations out of things, but that's what you need to do. One thing that never ever works is faith. Anyone can have faith in anything, no matter how absurd. So keep faith entirely out of it. If you even address faith, you've already lost. But I bet he's not going to agree with that, is he? So let's go see. I'm predicting this is going to be a disaster for his side, but I'm willing to be proven wrong.
If you look around, there's so many competing ideas, different religions, different worldviews, different truth claims. How do we actually test what is true?
Go back to the data. The reason there are so many religions, so many worldviews, etc., is because you've got people trying to lead the evidence or not being remotely concerned with the evidence at all. They just really want to believe. But wanting doesn't mean anything, which is why you have to be able to take yourself out of it and just go with the data. You have to be able to ask yourself those really hard questions and be able to put your own preconceptions and desires aside, and for a lot of people, that's just not possible. Or at the very least, it's just not easy. But I've been told these stories my entire life, so they just have to be true. But that doesn't mean anything, does it? But lots of people really like this book. That doesn't mean anything either. The only thing that matters is the data, and sadly for the religious, they don't have any, even when they absolutely should. That is not something that you should be proud of.
Well, a good framework to look at things through is origin, morality, meaning, and destiny.
None of those actually mean anything. Welcome back to Bald Rationalization Theater. Morality has absolutely nothing to do with fact. Origin might be useful under certain circumstances, I guess, but destiny? That's a fallacy right there. If I understand what he's getting at least, which granted I might not. It's really just a form of begging the question, because these people are looking for an emotionally comforting conclusion. They are not following the evidence, they are leading it around by the nose, and that is just nonsense. Of course, I think we need some more clarification, so let's get back to the video and see how he explains things. Because I honestly don't think it's going to work, but hey, I'm willing to give it a shot.
If you look at these things, each religion or each truth claim or worldview needs to answer these things. Origin, where did we come from?
That's even worse than I thought. I was thinking, where did this idea come from? But it's even dumber than that. The only actual answer here is what science shows through a preponderance of the evidence. Leave the religions and the worldviews out of it completely because those are irrelevant. Just focus on the science and the intelligent evaluation of the facts. Also, it doesn't matter what appeals to you. You mean nothing. Facts are facts and feelings are shit. This is where he's going to go wrong, of course, as if that's any surprise. But then again, Steve is an apologist for a specific religious belief, so of course he's not going to be doing this rationally. I doubt he even knows what that word means. This has nothing at all to do with truth, as there are many ideas out there that have nothing whatsoever to do with human origins or any origins at all. I thought this might be something interesting to look at, but it's already feeling like a big mistake. But let's soldier on, though. We're already in the midst of stupidity, so we might as well keep going.
Morality, how do we know what is right and wrong?
Not by just making bald-assed assertions because it makes you happy, but come on, we all know that's exactly what he's going to be doing. What you like about your own views of morality or whatever are going to look positively stupid to someone else with different views. That's because morality is entirely subjective and always has been. Granted, he won't accept that because he just doesn't like the idea, but as I said, what sounds good to you means nothing at all when trying to figure out what is actually true. But Steve doesn't care, does he? He's just pandering to his paying audience, and that's nothing to be proud of, is it?
Meaning, what is the purpose to life and destiny? Where do we go when we die?
That's assuming a lot of things that are simply not in evidence, right? That assumes that there is a meaning or purpose in life, which has not been demonstrated, and it assumes that we're going anywhere except into the ground. You have the data, that which we can demonstrate is actually the case, and then you have the faith, that which they really want to be true, and I'm not remotely interested in the faith at all. The second a theist relies on faith, they've already lost. So this is getting dumber by the minute. Let's just see how low he can go, and I'm predicting pretty low. How about you?
Atheism, for example, if you run it through that grid, in terms of origin, it would say, well, humans are just the product of blind chances. The universe kind of popped into existence, and essentially we're just here, the product of chance and evolution.
And what's wrong with that? That's what all the evidence points to. Oh right, it doesn't stroke his childish ego, does it? He doesn't like that, so it just can't be true, so there. Because Steve, he's not after fact. He isn't after truth. He's after emotional comfort. He just wants to be happy. But being happy has nothing at all to do with being right. Truth is the state of factual reality entirely beyond your fifis and your faith, and he can't even think in those terms. The religious mostly can't. They don't even try. And I don't give a shit what you really wish was true. I don't care at all what makes you feel good. I care what you can back up with objectively verified data, and they don't care. How do you get there absent your indoctrinated and poisoned brain? That's what I want to see, and they're not trying to do that at all. And that's why they're such a joke.
In terms of morality, then, what follows is, well, there are no real morals. There's no real right and real wrong. It's whoever's in power and makes the rules. That's the one who can decide what is right or wrong. But there's no absolute grounding for what is really right and really wrong.
Welcome to reality. Because remember, these people aren't concerned with the actual facts at all. They're just looking to stroke their own egos, and that is pathetically childish. But I really, really like the idea. Okay, so what? It's like the example I've used many times in the past. If you fall out of an airplane without a parachute, you can scream all the way down, "I don't want gravity to be real. I don't want gravity to be real." But guess what? You're still going to go splat on the ground because what you want doesn't mean anything. Reality is what it is, and you mean absolutely nothing in that equation. Yet the religious can't get that through their heads, can they? Because they're not using their heads. And that's why these people are idiots. It can't be that hard to understand.
Meaning. What is the meaning of life? Well, essentially, it would be to drink and eat and have fun, and then you die.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, yes, we all die, but you give your own life meaning balanced against societal expectations. You, as an individual, don't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. You can either work really hard and live a relatively comfortable life, or you can be a lazy bum and suffer, and that's often up to you. I'm sure most of us know people who didn't put in the effort early on and are now paying the price. I can certainly point to a couple for which that is absolutely true, and that's actually kind of sad, isn't it? Life isn't all about getting what you want. It's about working hard to earn it, and even then, there's no guarantee of success. Life isn't fair. People need to grow up and rent a clue. It's really not that hard.
And so, on atheism, origin, morality, meaning, and destiny, well, what is your destiny? Essentially, when you die, you are in the grave, and that's it.
Welcome to the real world, because that's what actually happens. We are all just evolved animals on an irrelevant planet in the middle of nowhere. That's what all of the data shows. If that makes you feel bad, that's your problem, not mine. It's not the problem of reality. That's why I keep telling people that they need to have realistic expectations, and far too many people, just like Steve here, they refuse to do so. Why? Because they can't deal with the facts. They have to embrace a childish fantasy because they've never matured enough to come to grips with the real world. What you really want means very little. You've got a relatively small window of time while you're alive, so make the best of it that you can, and when you're gone, and your feelings mean nothing at all. What you want to be true is irrelevant. Grow up and figure it out. Sadly, a lot of people absolutely refuse, and that is positively pathetic.
Well, what would Christianity say when put through this grid?
Who cares? Because Christianity isn't demonstrably true. This is what this video is supposedly about, right? Well, no, it's really not. Steve is up there pandering to his hopefully paying customers, and I say hopefully because this channel really doesn't do well. This video has been sitting in my queue for a very long time now, and at the moment, this video has been out for over a year because it came out December 6th, 2023, to give you some context. So probably close to a year and a half by the time this thing airs. And right now, it has 416 views and 1 upvote. They turn off comments so nobody can say how dumb it is, but that's absolutely pathetic performance on YouTube. My videos do more than that in the first day, and I have a lot fewer subscribers. Not that I really care. This is pretty typical for this channel, though, which proves just how pointless people think Steve and Andy are, and whoever else is involved, I don't know. I don't pay a lot of attention. So, Christianity is crap, but let's watch the bald rationalizations fly. You know, it might be good for a laugh.
Origin. Well, Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
So, mythology. That never happened. You have no data to back it up at all, and the story in the Bible is just nonsense when examined critically. It isn't real. Not that Steve cares, because he's just running on pure fifis and faith. He just wants it to be true because it strokes his ego. He hasn't come to that conclusion rationally, because I don't think he'd know rationality if it smacked him upside the head. This is just telling yourself a comforting lie because you really like the idea. But that is positively pathetic to anyone with a brain. He's not remotely interested in actual truth, only in believing stuff that gives him a warm fuzzy inside. Steve, you're a moron. Grow the hell up.
And so God is the one who has created everything that we see, the world around us. And scientifically, the Big Bang actually points to this. We have great evidence for that claim.
No, you don't. Because there is nothing in the Big Bang that points to any gods at all. This is just bald rationalization, which really isn't exactly a surprise, is it? Oh, I can twist it so it sounds vaguely like my mythology, so all my beliefs are true. No, that's not how this works. This is really stupid, but then again, look who we're talking about, right? This is how all theists operate, all religions. Muslims are saying the same thing. So are Hindus. If I can make it work by squinting at it just right, well, it just proves my beliefs are true. No, it doesn't. It only proves that you are a moron. I am very tired of dealing with morons, which kinda sucks considering the channel that I have, but hey, I just suffer for my art, don't I?
Morality. How do we know what is right and wrong? Well, Christianity would say that morals, what is really right and what is really wrong, is actually based in who God is. God is absolute good. He is goodness itself.
Yeah, the moral monster that flooded the world and imposed original sin on everyone and created hell to burn people that he doesn't like. Yeah, that sounds moral, doesn't it? Because these idiots can't listen to the words that come out of their own mouths. That's typically the problem that they have. They haven't thought about any of this. They only believe because they've been brainwashed into it, and when you point out all the problems with their theology, they've got a lot of ready excuses for why what is obviously the case, well, they're just going to ignore that bit because otherwise they'll get sad and they don't want that. That's why having a conversation with these people is usually such a complete waste of time, because they can't keep a rational thought in their head for more than a second or two at a time. These people are like irrational goldfish, except the goldfish tend to be smarter.
And he has communicated and also put within us conscience, which draws us to know what is right and what is wrong, and actually reach out to him through those things.
Yeah, tell us another one. This is just theistic story time. None of that stuff is defensible, which is why you'll hear from a Christian perspective or from a Christian worldview so often. None of those things matter. How about based on the verifiable data? Yeah, you'll never hear that one out of a theist, will you? And that goes for all religions because they're all doing the exact same thing. This is just wishful thinking filtered through blind faith and childish emotion because they really want it to be true. They can't convince a skeptic of any of it because they have no evidence for anything. This has got to be true because they say so. So there. How dumb is that?
Meaning, well, in Christianity, we would see that human beings are made in the image of God. And so that means that they have infinite value and worth and actually purpose as given by God.
There he goes again. Here's the stuff that my religion says is true, therefore it has to be true because it really makes me feel good. How do you prove that to anyone who doesn't already believe? Well, my book says a thing and I like it, so it's true. Yeah, big deal. That's why he's not talking to the skeptics. He isn't concerned with what's actually true, so his video title is a lie. This is just shit he likes for emotional reasons, and truth becomes nothing but confirmation bias. I like it doesn't make it true. It just makes Steve a complete imbecile. Big surprise there.
And then destiny, what happens to us when we die? Is it just we get put in the ground and that's it? Well, Christianity would say no. Actually, we are more than just the physical body that we can see and feel. We have a spirit, we have a soul, and we persist when we die to go and actually be with God.
In other words, I'm afraid of death, so let me tell myself a comforting lie so I don't feel so bad. Because that's all he's doing. It's all any of them do. They can't handle the real world that they live in, so they make up religious gobbledygook that strokes their egos and can't be backed up with any evidence, but hey, they like it, so it's gotta be true. Because this is not now, nor has it ever been about truth. It's about childish feelings, and that's not exactly a surprise, because this is how children operate, not mature, rational adults. As I'm writing this, today would have been my mother's 81st birthday, but she's dead. I accept that. That's fine. I'm never going to see her again, and that's okay. People die. Everything dies. I'm going to die. You're going to die. Whoopee, that's life. People like Steve, they can't handle that, so they lie to themselves and others because they do not have the intellectual integrity or maturity to deal with the real world as it actually is. Seriously, fuck these people. What the hell is wrong with them?
So there's a really useful grid: origin, morality, meaning, and destiny. Take that with you whenever you see a worldview claiming something or a religion and you want to see if it stands up. Run it through that grid and see if it actually is coherent and actually corresponds to the reality that we see around us.
No, you want to see if it appeals to you on an emotional level, because that's all you care about. Truth, however, has absolutely nothing at all to do with any of that. It has to do with whether the proposition matches the existing evidence, and for Christianity, it simply does not. That goes for all other religions as well. If you don't match the data, then your feelings are meaningless, and since they only care about their feelings, they're just playing make-believe regardless. This wasn't about truth. This was about comfort, and that proves once again what a complete idiot Steve Osmond is. Not that that's any real surprise or anything, because that's what happens in every single religious video we ever do. Fifis and faith over facts and evidence. These people are immature children, nothing more. So anyway, what did you think? Was this as laughable to you as it was to me? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I was hoping that he'd actually touch on truth, but he didn't even try. I guess that's not much of a surprise because, religion and all. It was just, here's the stuff that yanks my crank and makes me happy, so it's got to be true. There was no evaluation of epistemic validity or verifiable truth anywhere in this, and I guess I was a little silly for hoping there would be. This is a religious scam video after all, by scammers who are really terrible at their jobs. If you can't get anyone to pay attention, and of course give you money, then you are piss poor at your job, aren't you? And I think that describes Andy Bannister and his merry band of imbeciles just fine, don't you? What the hell is wrong with these people? I don't know, you tell me.